Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your old pal CHH. Come on in. I have not prepped anything for this video because I wanted to just come at it as authentic as possible. I kind of set off a little bit of a S-storm the other week. Let me give you a little bit of the backstory, and we're going to talk about this whole Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 issue. So maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, it might have even been longer because time flies so freaking fast. It might have been back in March or whatever. It was a video basically about, the Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 problem, how everybody wants it, yet it's out of print. And I was wondering why. Why would these movies be out of print? Is it a Pamela Springsteen issue? Is it a licensing issue? And there was something I started seeing people say. People would say, oh, no, Kino has the rights to it. And I would be like, really? And it wasn't that I didn't believe those people, but I never saw that for myself. So I was very intrigued by that. Fast forward a little while longer. I did this Halloween video, basically kind of talking about the 15-disc box set. And the video came out pretty cool. People started sharing the video on some Facebook groups and Halloween groups, and Cliff McMillan, the gentleman who actually was the co-creator of Scream Factory, saw that video and reached out to me just to say, hey, thanks for showing the box set some love. I put a lot of work into that. I parlayed that into, hey, man, you know what? I have a lot of questions I would love to ask you. I think some fans would love to hear your story as well, and that sort of thing. So we had the interview. It's on my channel. You guys can go watch it. He was incredible. He was very forthright about so many things. I learned so much from him with that interview. Well, I asked him about Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, and to my surprise, he answered it right then and there. He straight up said, well, the reason Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are out of print is because Shout Factory did not renew the license for them in the late 2010s, 2019 or whatever it was. Whenever they went out of print, they were gone. And I was like, well, why? Well, he goes, well, they did the first movie because that's a cult classic for sure. And I'm not arguing that. Sales would dictate the answer to that, I would say, and I would probably assume that he's right. The sales for Sleepaway Camp 1 were probably better than 2 and 3. But, 2 and 3, they had their time in the sun. I have mine right here, Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. And he said that they didn't sell very well. Now, it's not like I would argue with him. If anybody would know, it's Cliff. I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, though. That I can tell you. I had a very hard time wrapping my head around that. But maybe that's the case. This is something that I'm learning. And the more I grow my channel and the more I do videos and the more people talk to me about physical media, I am seeing that a lot of people are coming into physical media, which I think is amazing, and I'm happy about that, as should you be. And I think maybe when Scream Factory released 2 and 3, it sold well, but maybe not well enough for them to warrant a reissue. Or maybe it was a mistake on their part. That's also possible, but I'm going to believe Cliff, of course, when he says they weren't happy with the sales of it, so they just said, screw it, we're not going to renew it. So that's where we left things off. Now, going back to that Scream Factory Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 video I did, a lot of people were saying in the comments, I believe Kino had the rights to it. So a few weeks ago, a friend of mine did some digging on Kino's Twitter and actually found a screenshot of what Kino said during this exchange with somebody. And I'm going to paraphrase it right now, but I'll show you a portion of the screenshot. It was more than likely Kino promoting a new title that they were putting out back in 2021. And here you've got somebody saying, where's Sleepaway Camp? And whoever was representing Kino at the time is saying, we're not putting out that Sleepaway Camp movie, to which somebody was basically digging at them for putting out a different movie out at the time, and they fired back, and they said that movie is a crappy movie. We have no interest in it. We don't need to defend ourselves. We're not releasing that crappy movie. And you would assume they would probably have the same notion for Sleepaway Camp 2 as well. But in this exchange, you could see that it was 3 specifically that was mentioned. So what we learned in that exchange is, number one, Kino does have the rights to the film. Do they still have the rights? Possibly. I would assume so. If they bought a huge lot of MGM titles, you would assume that they're gonna keep the license for that bulk of titles that they got because they put these movies out periodically. So I posted about this, and it kind of set off a mini storm. A lot of people were commenting. People were angry at Kino. There were people that were actually happy with the response. People were like, you know what? I'll be honest. And I kind of see where they're coming from. A lot of people said, you know what? I'll be honest. I can appreciate just actual honesty and straightforwardness in this day and age. So you had people on two sides of the coin, but I would say the majority were basically annoyed by the response and sad, really, and aggravated that two movies that they maybe want are out of print. And I would assume a lot of people are angry because they don't own these. I think that's something to remember. Because if they just put out Blu-rays again, maybe it's not that big of a deal. If they did 4Ks, cool. But if it was just Blu-ray releases, maybe they realized too, or they got wind that those movies didn't sell very good for Scream Factory, and so they are not going to want to pay the money to restore those movies in 4K. But I want to talk about the response, and I actually want to give my opinion on it. I don't want to just Walter Cronkite it. For the young people, Walter Cronkite was this old news anchor that just gave you the news. He didn't give you his 2 cents. What do you guys think? Call us up at whatever. So let's break down the response. And let me say this. Somebody messaged me and they were like, dude, why would you want to dig that up? And well, I wasn't trying to dig it up. This is the reason I wanted to post that on my Instagram and on my YouTube. Let me get one thing. Let me answer that question, then I'll get into my response. I wanted to show that because there are a lot of people like myself that were wondering, do they have the license? I wasn't trying to say, look at Kino, look at what they're doing, look at the stuff they say. I don't care about that. I'm 32 years old. If I see a company give a mean response to somebody, I may have an opinion of it in my head for a few seconds, but then I move on with life. I really don't care. Okay? But I'll talk about how I would have handled that differently myself. My point is, I just wanted to show that strictly to let people know, oh, so they do in fact have the license. We don't have to really worry, because I know a lot of people assumed, but they weren't sure. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this. I am a fan of Kino Lorber. I just picked up their Fletch and Fletch Lives releases. I like the company. I have a number of titles from them, and I'm going to continue to get titles from them. The response itself, which a lot of people ask me, what is my take on the response? Because I just posted about it, really not thinking, oh, the thing people are going to take away from this more so is the response, not the fact that Kino does have the license for these movies. So that's why it's not out, or that's why it's not going to come out for the foreseeable future until they either drop the license with all those movies that they've put out or whatever. So Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are just out of print now and probably for the foreseeable future. That's what I wanted to get out of that. But people picked up on the response. So how do I feel about the response? The response was a little crass. And I would have handled it differently if I was on the PR side of things. Me personally, I would have just gone the professional route. I have issues with the not being open with the public. Like some of the things Scream Factory doesn't ever do is really give their audience information about stuff. I mean, that interview I did with Cliff, so many questions were answered, but it would be so easy for Scream Factory to just kind of answer these things publicly to their audience every now and again and just be more forthright about certain things. But so they don't do it at all. So I can see how people were like, whatever, they have no interest in doing it, whatever. They think they're POS movies. At least they're honest about it. I just would have gone in a more professional route. I would have said, we do not have any interest in releasing the movie at this time, or that is not on our docket for now. Just give a statement like that, because what you don't want to happen is to annoy your customers or upset customers. It's just, the whole thing's just kind of a shame. But I hate to say this, but I can't really say I'm annoyed with Kino's response that much, I guess. It's shitty, but at least we know. My thing is, at least now I know for sure. I was able to see on Twitter that, yeah, they do have the license. They've got the license for the movies, but they have no interest in putting it out. So, yeah, that's just, I wanted to talk about this and just kind of get my thoughts out there, because when I posted that, it got a lot of responses from people, and I figured it's probably better for me to actually address this formally through a video. So the whole thing for me is just a bummer because there are fans that have come into the horror genre, that have come into the physical media genre, that want to own these movies. And if Kino Lorber happens to see this video, I would say there are a lot of people, I talk to them often. I'm sure you guys as a company get asked it a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if you still get asked it till this very day. There are a lot of people that want to own those movies. Just make a budget release of them, put them out on Blu-ray. I think a lot of people would pick it up and be happy with it because they missed out on the Scream Factory ones. They did not last that long. So I would implore you guys at Kino, who I'm a fan of you guys. I'm a fan of the company. You're not my favorite, but I like you guys a lot. I have a number of titles from you guys, and you do great stuff. Your restorations are always on point. I can't really complain with you guys as a company at all. So I'm a fan of Kino, but I would just say, guys, there are a lot of people that want these movies. I think if you can find the time to just get it out before you guys lose the license, I think it would do really well. I mean, I really do. Even if you do a budget release where you put the two movies in one case and just do the Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 release. I just think people want to own these movies. In a world where everything is so digital, people are craving to own. People are craving to covet and to have something in their hands. And I think that's what's so important to a lot of us today, is to have something feel real. So many things today just don't feel real. And so I think it's important for people to own those movies today. So I would just implore you guys to reconsider. Truly, please reconsider releasing these movies and put it out. That was 3 years ago, that conversation that happened, guys. So they very well could be planning to put that out soon. I don't know, but time will tell. If not, maybe in a few years another company will get it and get the license for it and do a glorious release. But I don't know. You just imagine if they bought a ton of titles to license as an all-or-nothing deal, they could have the license to these movies for years to come. So just keep that in mind, guys. But yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts on this. I would have responded in a much more professional, classy manner. But there are going to be people that think that response was funny and they thought it was, at least it was honest, and other people are just annoyed that the movies aren't out, guys. So that's where we're at with everything, and I just wanted to address this in a formal video and give you guys my actual thoughts. Just a shame. Just a shame. Kino, please reconsider. The fans really want to own these movies, and at the end of the day. So I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the whole situation. I'd love to hear from you guys. Keep physical media alive. Keep supporting physical media, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.